All right. Welcome, y'all. Okay, I don't even know where to start because I feel like we were already mid conversation. It was getting good. I was like, I got to record this. But y'all, yes, welcome, BirthFit community. This is being recorded for the BirthFit podcast because I think this is going to be a phenomenal guest. And we're going to talk about some good stuff, everything from birth to a supplement line. Let's dive in. Okay, with me today, I got Meg Mugg.
Yeah.
That's catchy.
I'm,
So let me get you to introduce yourself. Who are you and what hats do you wear in this world?
oh, that's a great question. Lots of hats. So first and foremost, I'm a mother, as we touched on. I'm a mother
Yeah.
of two young girls, a almost 4-year-old and a just turned 1-year-old. Um,
Ooh.
that's first. And then secondly, I own FRTIL and started FRTIL about 18 months ago, which is my supplement company. And yeah, 18 months. I
So
think
I just
about
did the
18 months.
mom math. Like started that
Yes.
company within having babies.
Within having babies, and this is, we'll kind of probably get to this later with the birth story, but this was actually in the midst of living in a trailer that we launched Fertile. And my second was not born yet, thank goodness. I don't know if I would have been able to do it with two at that very time, but anyways, long story short, yeah, we launched Fertile in May of 2024, and then it's crazy just the response that we've received, I guess, with like the products and just people resonating with like the message that I've really tried to push forward through supplementation, which is a little bit different than what you see. Because I
Yeah.
think, especially with supplements, you see a lot of black and white and a lot of polar opposites and people who are gung ho in one area. Whereas Fertile, we're trying to find that middle ground and kind of that gray area that is so prevalent in the health and wellness space, but not a lot of people really own up to. So, yeah,
Mhm.
Fertile has been a long project. We actually started in 2022. End of 2022 is when we started looking for the raw ingredients. So it took a long time. And we'll kind of talk about like the testing and stuff
Yeah.
like that today, but it took a long time to find the raw products. But I think even like people's testimonials with the products kind of speaks to that of really setting high standards of our sourcing. So yeah, that's a little bit about myself. Those are the hats that I
That's
wear. I would
awesome.
say even Fertile today, a big majority of it comes from me. We do have help. Like we have, your typical like email marketing and like social media help, like stuff like that. But outside of everything else, I mean, I'm writing everything. I write all of our blogs, all of our captions, all of our emails with
Yeah.
customers is all me because I really want, especially I think, setting a strong foundation of who we are and the tone we want to set in the market is really, really essential to me. So yep, that's everything
I
that you
love
see
that.
really is comes
I
from
can
me.
appreciate that because I still do our blogs and our emails,
Yeah,
captions.
yeah,
Yeah, all that
exactly.
stuff.
It's
Yeah.
it's a lot of work, but it's worth it because I think to a certain extent, especially when you're selling a product, it can get so lost in the mix of like, okay, I started with this mission, right, of like really alternating what you currently see in the supplement industry currently. And I
Yeah.
didn't want that to get lost in the mix of sales. So, yeah,
Mm.
and I'm sure you feel the same exact way. It's the
Yeah.
foundation of everything that you do is sticking to that original mission of starting a
Yeah.
company. So,
I love that. Okay, so I'll ask you this. Where do you want
yeah,
to start? Do you want to start with your personal birth stories or should we
yeah,
start with the supplement stuff? Where do you
that
see the
where do I see? You know what? I actually see like first motherhood, and it's funny because people ask, we talk about fertile all the time, but like motherhood to me is the biggest imprint that has left on myself of creating these products and like the why behind the products. Especially when you don't know who the heck I am. Most people don't. Like, I'm not an influencer or anything like that. So
no,
I would
right.
say, like, that's the biggest thing for me that has pushed me to create these products and create Fertile, and the voice of Fertile is my experience like through motherhood.
Great.
So yeah, if you want to start there,
Yeah,
I'm more
let's
than happy
start there
to.
because you mentioned you have two girls,
Yep.
and then we were talking about birth experiences right before this.
Yeah.
So do you want to start all the way back with maybe your first conception journey?
Yeah. So yeah, okay. So I will make this I will make this short and sweet. But essentially, so my husband and I, we've been together for about 10 years now. I'm 28, so we've
Oh,
been together since I was 18. We
oh
were
my
really
gosh.
good friends in high school. And then early on, we knew that we wanted to get married young and that we wanted to have like kids young. So long story short, we ended up trying, and this was, my health journey began years ago, and we won't really get into that, but I had successive miscarriages when we began trying. And I was kind of following the status quo mainstream health advice, I guess, when it comes to conception and fertility, and had 3 like early on miscarriages back to back. So that's when I was like, okay, I intuitively knew there's something more to this. And I've got to just take a moment to really figure out what's going on. And I was never someone who turned to like doctors and things like that. My background is I was at UCLA studying psychology and independent research. So that's kind of where like my knowledge, I guess, stemmed from and began with was working with a lot of professors who were like hands-on in research. So I was like, I have the resources. I'm going to go ahead and just like dive into this myself. So that's when I stumbled upon Ray Peat, which I don't know if you guys, I'm sure he's become like very popular nowadays, which is amazing. But that's when I took like quite some time and just like went down that rabbit hole of studying like Ray Peat, Rhoda Barnes, Paul Eck, some really, really foundational, incredible mentors in the space who's been doing it for years and years, and really started to look at the body and like the human physiology so differently than what I was taught originally in school. So
can I interrupt you? For those that don't know Ray Peat or Rhoda Barnes or some of the others that you mentioned, can you just go off on a little
quest? Yes.
Yeah, just like what's so different about them?
Yeah, so I would say the biggest thing is that today, and this is something that I learned in school, right? Today, research and like everything that we know in regards to health and wellness, the foundation of it all is based off of men's research. It's not based off of women are really, really hard to study. Yeah. Obviously, we get pregnant, we have cycles. There's a lot of reasons why we're difficult to study. So for quite some time, women have not been studied. And that's where like someone like Ray Peat, who literally studied for 50 or so more years, endocrinology and women's endocrinology in particular, and really took a look and a lens on the body as on a cellular level, as looking deeper into our physiology than just isolation, which you see in typical research, again, studying men today. So they have such a different perspective, even down to like the quote pro-metabolic of like sugar is good for you, like these things that you've never heard before, that kind of raises this like, what's that? I want to learn more about that. And I would say just studying that alongside like thyroid health with Rhoda Barnes, he incredible when it comes to the thyroid and like his work on that. But all that to say is just like taking such a different approach of what you hear today as far as like over exercising and like the dieting, my gosh, like talking about like so many women having to unlearn of just actually like truly nourishing themselves. Yes. So that's kind of like a little bit of the tangent of that research that I went on. And then so I took a break, studied their work for about 2 years, did not try to get pregnant or anything like that. I really just knew I needed to heal myself. And then about right after we bought our first house, I was like, I can tell in my body, like my morning like temperatures were so high. I was like, I could tell in my body, like I feel really at a really great place. Tried our first time and got pregnant our first time and had the most easy pregnancy, absolutely no morning sickness, no symptoms. I was so awesome, thriving. So that's kind of like my first like getting pregnant first and like first pregnancy and all that.
Okay, so for some listening that may not know some lifestyle habits.
Yes.
So let's say top 3 to 5, because I mean, we could have a whole nother podcast workshop on this, like you were saying.
We could.
What would be the biggest things that you changed in your lifestyle habits? Do you remember? Like,
yeah, for sure. So I think, which is such an easy one, like I was never a person, I think first and foremost is like eating enough. Like it's such a silly thing to say, but it's true. It's like there's so many women nowadays who are, whether they learned it from their mothers or whether they learned it from an influencer on Instagram, or like there's a million different avenues nowadays where women unfortunately learned to undereat. First and foremost is eating enough calories. And then secondly, I would say is blood sugar regulation. And this really, really goes into that first trimester and women feeling so sick, right? Of blood sugar regulation being foundational. So when I say that, I mean, eating every 3 to 4 hours, especially when you come from a place of having, like, let's say really cold hands and feet and low thyroid function, you need to be eating every 3 to 4 hours. I'm like a huge proponent for that. And really making sure you're eating enough protein and carbohydrates paired together. An emphasis on the carbs, because again, I think a lot of women are like so scared of
shy
carbs.
away from them.
Yes. Yes.
They're like carbs equals weight gain, or
yeah, exactly, which is so not the truth. Maybe if you're coming from a place, again, from like low thyroid function, where your metabolism is not at a point where tolerates and breaks down glucose efficiently and quickly, but to be able to like slowly have your body essentially relearn. So I would say that eating enough protein, I always tell women, like, if you can get around your body weight in protein, minimum 100 grams per day, and that comes from animals, not from plants.
Yes.
Huge advocate on that. Yeah. To be doing that. And then I think the last one is really, really, really focusing on cortisol. And that starts with two things: your light, like what does your light environment look like?
Yes, I'm gonna do this again.
And then the second thing being breakfast. Oh my gosh, the amount of mothers that I talk with that are like, oh, I am too busy making my kids breakfast, they don't eat breakfast. There's not an excuse. Every mother needs to be eating breakfast, and do not have coffee before your breakfast. Like those three things to really shift your cortisol is huge. So I would say, I would say those are my list of things that are foundational in my eyes.
Love it. Okay, so then you got pregnant.
Yep.
And had great pregnancy.
Great pregnancy. I my husband and I joke around, if I could be pregnant all the time, I would, because I love pregnancy and I feel like I just truly thrive in pregnancy. And I wish that more women had that experience,
That's awesome.
But all that to say is, yes. So for my first, so mind you, I was already in the realm of like research and these kind of independent leaders who were sharing all this research. And so going into my first pregnancy, I didn't take prenatals. I just had a very different outlook. And even that was for my first pregnancy. Like and funny enough, my husband and I always kind of intuitively felt like we want to have a home birth. That was kind of always our thing. And that wasn't really with even external influence. It was just, deep within us that's what we wanted.
How did you know that?
I don't know. I really don't know. But maybe it was just, I've been in this world for so many years now, since I was a teenager, of just, I've always been drawn to something in regards to like human physiology has always fascinated me. And to me, like home birth and not being, there not being like any external influences really, and just being like me and my husband and like someone I really trust, like that to me, I've always been like drawn to, so all that to say, my first pregnancy was a little bit of I wouldn't call it a wild pregnancy. I didn't have like a free birth or anything like that, but I just didn't go with the normal, as far as like people are like, what prenatal are you taking? I'm like, I'm not taking one. Same with like home birth. People are like, what the heck, you're going to do home birth for your first? I'm like, yes. So anyways, all that to say, when the home birth finally came about, it was going amazing. At the very end of my birth, like right before I was like fully dilated, ready to push, she started having D cells. And at that time, we were all like, what the heck? This has all been going amazing. What's going on? So
you had a midwife there.
Yes, had a midwife at my house. She checked me for the first time, like throughout my pregnancy, birth, anything like that, right at the end. And she was like, your baby's breech. And I think that what we're experiencing is potentially cord prolapse, which is, for those who don't know, is when the umbilical cord comes either with the baby or before the baby during birth.
It's very rare.
Yeah, it's very rare. So therefore, they're not able to get oxygen, obviously, through the umbilical cord. So we made the split decision to transfer to the hospital and had a C-section. Like emergency C-section. Who knows how emergent it was, but we did have a
Yeah.
C-section. So yeah, that was like my first, and then went through a lot of just, as a lot of moms do, like what the heck just happened, especially because
Yeah.
I never really thought that would be, my birth story, but it was. But so much good came from it, really. And I was connected with Dr. Stu. I'm not sure if you know who
Yeah.
Dr. Stu is.
Oh, we love
Love
Dr.
Dr.
Seuss.
Stu. Oh, I love him so much. He's
Yeah.
amazing. So got connected with him because he's local to us.
Mm-hmm.
And he was so kind and generous with his time, as far as just like, this is what I think happened. And like, just kind of like encouraging me, because I was just at such a point of like, what the heck just happened? And my midwife at the time was not great in terms of kind of walking me through what had just happened,
Okay.
So yeah, he was really incredible, and kind of just like a little bit of like hand holding, and
Aw.
helping
He's
me
like a
through like,
teddy bear. Yeah.
yeah, he is. And walking through that situation was just mind boggling to me that he would take the time. So, yeah, I did a lot of work and healing through that. And come my second, when I was like pregnant with her, same pregnancy, super easy. We were doing a lot, launch fertile during that time. So it was pretty crazy time. And we were living in a trailer. That's probably something that's important to note. And we were literally within like a 10-day window of being able to move into our house. So we bought a new house before getting pregnant, gutted the entire thing, and we're just about 10 days shy. Mind you, with my first,
No.
I went to labor at like nearly 42 weeks. So we thought like, oh, we've got so much time. We've got like 2 weeks that we'll be able to move everything into our house. And then I went into labor at like 38 weeks on the dot. And no one was expecting it. I didn't even have diapers. I had nothing prepared.
Oh my God.
And mind you, we were going to have a home birth again,
Yeah.
and we were inside this trailer, didn't even have a plan B of like, are we going to give birth in this trailer? Who knows what we're going to do? So woke up that day, drove to my in-laws' house, who live about 45 minutes away, and they were thankfully out of town, actually, so we didn't have to like kick anyone out of the house. So ended up having a home birth there, and
Oh
it
my
was
gosh.
the most just like amazing day of my life. Yeah,
Oh,
it was incredible. It was only like a 4 or 5 hour long labor. She came really fast, and
wow.
it was just, I think it was like such a testimony of like how not only birth is a reflection of where you're at during that season of life, but also to like the surrender. If you just can really truly surrender during birth, that like you have no control over the situation, but that's such a normal physiological
Yeah.
process that's unfolding.
Yes.
um I think that her birth was like that, revealing that to me, and just also a really great reflection of where I was at during my first versus my second, as far as taking control. I feel like almost in my own life. And I'm sure that other women can resonate with that, of like, you can look back on a birth and be like, yeah, that's where I was at, if you're honest with yourself. So
So true. Oh
yeah,
my gosh. It's
so that's
it's
the story.
birth is like a mirror, like you're saying, it's a
It
reflection of
is.
who you are.
It is.
Oh my gosh. That's beautiful. Like both of those. Thanks for sharing
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Um,
Hopefully I went to enough detail, but not also, I don't want to waste too much time.
so I want to get into supplements, but I want to hit on how was your postpartum recovery of number one, shifting into conception
Yeah.
journey, and then postpartum recovery for number two.
I would say both were so seamless, like for both of them. I will say for my second, just having like, wow, the empowerment of doing that, like all on your own, and just having, I don't even want to say like have things the way that you want them to go, but just like being able to truly experience, what the woman body was created
Well, your
for.
biology is, yeah.
Yeah, what we're literally created for, being able to experience that, I feel like you start your postpartum on such a high, whereas
Mm,
with my first, it started almost on such a low of both my husband and I. And that's something, we could get into, as well as like how much birth affects the man. It's like, it's
yeah.
insane to watch how much it affects our husbands, but unfortunately they don't have like the hormonal signals and things going on to
Yeah.
respond, of just like being okay about it and like moving on, whereas like some men can have a really hard time with that. So anyways, to start a new life on like such a high, I would
Yeah.
say, is like the biggest thing. But for me, postpartum, like I'm someone who's very serious about just how I nourish myself and,
Yes.
even like my light, just simple foundational things that I feel postpartums are very seamless for me, as are, pregnancies and all that kind of stuff. So, but I would say that was the biggest thing that I noticed between 1 and 2 is starting your postpartum on a high versus like having to really work your way up.
Having to like heal
Yep.
emotionally, and
Yes.
you had to heal a scar
Yep.
and from laboring for a while,
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, that's the sad thing too, is that when birth does not go the way that we anticipate or plan, is that you have to really work yourself back up to a standard level emotionally. Whereas, I just it's completely different when things
Yeah.
just do go. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, okay. I appreciate you sharing that. It's so,
Yeah.
yeah, you gotta get yourself back up to baseline.
Yes,
Uh,
exactly.
okay. So in between actually, I wanted to ask you one more question because you
Yeah.
just on your light, and we're
Yes.
like geeks around sun is one of our pillars,
Yes. Yeah.
circadian rhythm, quantum
Yeah.
biology.
Hmm.
So, and you said it helps, with a smooth postpartum. And
Yeah.
I would absolutely agree. So, how did you set up your light environment and what did you do?
That's a really great question. So, mind you, with our new house, my husband and I joke around, if we could go back, we would actually not put in any canned lighting. We have like, Healthy Home Shop.
Yeah.
Okay, so
If y'all
we have,
don't know Healthy Home Shop, go check them out.
yeah, you need to go check him out. He's great. Adam, the owner, he is so awesome. So their lights we have all throughout our house for our can lighting. If we could go back, to be quite honest, I think that we would do no overhead lighting, period,
Just
and just
to,
have like lamps and like, yeah, just like to the eye range of light. But mind you, with postpartum, I mean, I've always just, when you change your light environment to go back to like a white light at nighttime, you're like, please
girl,
turn it
I'm sitting
off.
in a hotel room and I thought I was gonna go crazy last
Yes.
night.
Yes, you go crazy. And you know what the craziest part too is, especially as a mother, to remove all of the noise that we have, and one of them being lighting,
Yeah.
you realize that when you remove that lighting from your environment, that all of a sudden your nervous system's able to relax, and that like it makes such a difference on like how we're even able to respond as mothers. But all that to say, postpartum light environment, just like the skin to skin sitting out in the sun, like as naked as you can get without like bothering your neighbors, I think is so important in those early days, and important for your baby too, because
Yes.
they're learning their environment just as much. Like again, it's just the mirror system, right? They're
Yeah.
taking whatever we give them, and
Yeah.
to be able to, I hear so many mothers, unfortunately, being like, my baby wakes up, every 45 minutes, every
Yeah.
hour. And I think one of the most important things is, what does your light environment look like? And like, are
Yes.
you
Like that
setting your
for
baby
sure.
up for success? So yeah, I would say red light, if you have like a little nightstand, to be able to have a red light. It doesn't even have to be anything crazy expensive. Healthy Home Shop is awesome, but if you also just need to get like a cheap red light off of Amazon, great.
Yeah.
And then of course, like first thing in the morning, phones. Oh my gosh, no
Mhm.
phones. Like no phones as much as you can. Like when you're waking up and nursing, no phone.
Yeah.
It's just, you will thank yourself later. Um, for the ability for you and your baby to fall back asleep. And then of course, like morning sunlight, and getting as much skin exposed as you can for both you and your baby in that morning light. And even better, if you can watch the sunset, that would be, an even better benefit. So yeah.
Those are great tips.
Yeah.
Love it. Okay, so in between having babies,
Yeah.
you launched a supplement company.
Yeah.
Did you ever think in your life you would launch a
No,
supplement company?
absolutely not. No.
Because to
No.
me, that sounds like a lot of work. Um,
Oh, it's a lot of work, and my husband and I joke around about, there does not need to be another supplement company in this world. Like
right.
we are already saturated in supplements. So no,
So
that was
how the heck did
never.
you get started?
Okay, so really how it came about, and I didn't really explain this either in my story, but I had worked with I had worked with clients as a nutritional therapy practitioner for 5 years.
Okay.
So during that time period, I ebbed and flowed through different theories about supplements. I went through a period where I was like, absolutely no supplements, they're all BS, and then I went through a period where I was like dabbling with a couple. I was like, okay, wow, I'm seeing really, really significant, much quicker results in my clients with them taking supplements. So all that to say, I really started vetting. This is like something that I think is like not my one skill with Fertile, but I think my strongest skill when it comes to Fertile is vetting different suppliers. And when it came to even not having a supplement company, but just vetting out different companies for my clients, I would email in certain questions and people would just either A, never get back to me, or B, they would kind of give me answers that I was not happy with. And I was like, well, that's not, you're the quote best quality on the market, but you're doing something XYZ that I don't really agree with. I don't know how I feel about that, but like, sure, everyone says that you're the best, so I'll kind of recommend your product, that kind of thing. So that's honestly kind of how Fertile came about, was just really at a place of seeing a need where not only quality and sourcing of products, but also this in between that I think is so essential of that I'm trying to do with Fertile as best we can. Of nature very rarely gets it wrong. Like nature is pretty damn incredible, where if we could just look to nature as like one of our greatest teachers, then we're able to do a lot of things better than trying to just like do it our own way in our own human way, So looking to nature is like number one thing when it comes to Fertile. But secondly is realizing that in our modern world, there's different, whether it's vitamins and minerals, there's different like deficiencies and things that we see more and more common, especially as, and I know it's almost such like a cliche answer, but as our minerals are being depleted in our soils, like that is, it's honestly, when I think about it, it's kind of scary to think about even in the next 50 to 100 years of like, what is our vitamin and minerals going to look like from our soils versus like, what are we actually going to have to supplement with? So I think that's with Fertiles, like what I even saw in my own work through just working with clients, HTMAs, which if you don't know is a hair tissue mineral analysis. Like what did I see those like reoccurring like highs and lows, and where can we kind of, that's even where Oysters Inc. came from, is, blending a whole food product with a synthetic in a very like mild, low dose, and like blending the two and like having people see such a huge shift in their bodies. Whereas if it was 100% whole food, they may not see that shift, So it's kind of like looking to nature, but also to combining the reality of what we're facing in our modern world and what gaps we either need to fill or what things we need to mitigate. Such as like vitamin C, I see as such like a mitigation vitamin where, we're exposed to some heavy metals. It's essential for EMFs, all these different high oxidative states that it can be led to in our bodies. Like vitamin C can be a great buffer for that. So yeah, that's kind of like where Fertile began, was kind of seeing the need in the market, but also to wanting to combine the two, because I see such polarized owners of these supplement companies who are like, only synthetic, only whole food, and it's like, well, it's very really extreme. Yeah, very extreme. And I think that that's even, going back to the motherhood thing of something that I've learned, I think a little bit different, that maybe a woman holds as like an owner of a supplement company versus a man. Men can be very extreme. And of course, like women can as well. But I think men tend to be more black and white, whereas women, especially when you have children and you have a family, there's so much gray area. And I think that that even blends into the supplement world and how much nuance there really is.
Yeah, that's such good points. Literally, like, some conversations I've had with moms this year is like, okay, my kid is going through this. They've had this tooth thing for the longest time.
Yeah.
We've done HTMAs, blah, blah. Should we go a medical route of some sort, So there's so much gray area in motherhood.
Yeah, there's so much. And you never know until it crosses your path, until something comes up in your child.
Yeah.
or in your family, where you have to take such an individual approach. And again, such a cliche answer. I feel like everyone really says that with supplementation, but it really is that way, you know. And I what we aim to do even with Fertile is like try to do this messaging in a sense, even when it comes to like our advertising, our emails, everything, of just like, this is what our recommendations are, but you have to take this with a grain of salt because it might
Yeah.
be so different for you, you know. And I don't think that there's many companies out there who are being honest with that.
Right.
But it's a huge piece.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I like that. So, okay, let's talk about your products first and
Yeah.
then get into like your quality testing and stuff.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
So, you only have 3 products.
Yep.
And is this how you started and why? Because
That's a really good
somebody might be thinking, okay, she has a, prenatal supplement company. Let me go.
yeah.
And then they're like, wait, there's only
No.
3 things.
You're
Like,
like, wait, no, this
where's
is,
the
and it's
prenatal
not even a
supplement?
prenatal. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's interesting. And I'll get like very similar to you. I didn't take any prenatals. I
Yeah.
started building my own prenatal.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then I was exposed. I think I found you. I started taking yours either during pregnancy or right after
Yeah.
the zinc
Oh,
and
awesome.
the vitamin C and
Yeah.
then liver. So you sent me
Okay.
the
Yep.
thing,
The
but
baseline. Yeah.
I think it was the zinc first and loved it.
Yeah.
So yeah, why is there only 3? No, I can figure
Okay.
it out, but like,
So
yeah,
it's funny because this is a story for another time too. I won't even get into that side of the story. But why is there only 3? So this is another joke that my husband and I have, is that it is with the standards I feel that I hold with Fertile, it's really hard to find new products. And
yeah,
that's mind you, I'll I won't share like too much about this, but we have been working on a product the last year and a half that, again, it takes that freaking long. Like it
yeah,
literally takes that long. And when I say, you know, we launch in 2024, the reality is that what you can do as a supplement company owner, you can go and you can get whatever, you know, you can source a vitamin E, you can source a beef liver, and you can just say, this is what I'm looking for. Okay, perfect. The COA, which is the certificate of analysis, it checks out. Okay, awesome. Let's go ahead and go with that. You know, like it can be that straightforward and easy, but we don't really make it that straightforward and easy. Like we look down to, like, for instance, the vitamin E. Okay, what solvents and extractants and all the chemicals that are used in that process to create that product, does that align with me? No, it doesn't. You know, there's like, we break down
yeah,
and we get these emails all the time. When are you going to create a prenatal? I'm like, I'm on it, but it's going to take a long time, you know?
yeah.
But I think that that's what we've really, what I've aimed with Fertile from day one is like looking that closely and that deeply at each ingredient, and not just, you know, throwing ingredients together. Because of course, like, do I have ranges where I could really go and be like, yeah, this is what I want in a prenatal, this is how much choline I want, this is how much vitamin D I want, you know, and I could just throw it into a formula for sure, you know, and we could just put it out
Many do.
and probably do well with it, you know. But the reality is like I view Vertical as like a long game, and I'm in it for what we started it for, and not just like putting a product out to make money tomorrow. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I'm in it for like, no, I want to look so deeply each product and really almost, like, for instance, the product that we've been working on for a year and a half now, it's manufacturing in a way where it's not done. So I can't just go to a supplier and buy it. We have to hire chemists. We have to hire different people in order to make it the way that we want it made, not just literally buying from a supplier and like putting it into a formula.
That makes sense.
So, which we'll talk about like the beef liver as well, but that's kind of how I came across our quote baseline, which is our first 3 products that we started with, which is our oyster zinc, our vitamin C, and our beef liver. What I saw reoccurring was like, what are some foundational elements that a lot of people can really benefit from? And does that mean every single person can benefit from? No, but like a lot of people across the board, if they try these products, they're like, wow, like my labs are looking amazing, I'm feeling amazing, that kind of thing.
I'm
So
fertile.
that's, yeah, I'm fertile, exactly. So that's kind of what like our baseline, and like you said, like your DIY prenatal, like these were some foundational things as well that, you know, I as a consumer for years was kind of looking for in order to like make my own prenatal. but also too that I knew could benefit people whether or not they were trying to conceive. So that's kind of where that came from. And then thus was born the beef liver B9, which maybe will transition.
Is that your first one?
Yes. So that's
or
the
were
beef
they
liver
all
B9.
at the same time?
No. So the beef liver B9 is our only product that we've come out with since launch. So that came out this last August, so a couple months ago.
Okay.
So that product, and I'll kind of get into maybe like the testing of like why we came out with that product and why that was like a product that I wish that I had during my first two pregnancies, to kind of support conception, and also to in like that first trimester and maybe even used throughout pregnancy. But yeah, that was like a product that was like born out of our testing. So do you want me to show that now?
Yes.
Okay.
So okay, you launched with the oyster zinc, the vitamin C, and the beef liver, and then you came out with the B9.
The beef liver B9. Yes, exactly. Which is really just a rendition of our current beef liver. The only difference about our current beef liver and the B9 is that it's spiked with organic lemon peel for folate content. Because as we know, that first trimester, it's essential to be getting enough folate. And then it's also spiked with a tiny bit of zinc glycinate. So I'll kind of explain that as well. But that's the only difference. So really, I don't even know if I'd consider it like it is a whole new product, obviously, but it's like it's really just a rendition of what our current beef liver is, so that women, again, like myself, who rely on more of a whole food supplementation, and they are trying to conceive, they actually know that they're getting enough folate if they choose that they don't want to take a prenatal. So that was kind of my deal with that, is like for those women like myself who want to kind of DIY prenatal support, that would be like a great product to get enough folate, tons of vitamin A, B vitamins, and some copper as well. So
cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, let's dive in and talk about the liver.
Okay. Let's see if I can be.
She's gonna share screen for those of you listening. Maybe you can see it. Let me see if I can.
I was gonna say I better be able to do this. I'm the worst with.
We'll let you know.
Okay, here we go. Let's see. Share screen, entire screen.
Is there a button for sharing at the bottom?
Let's see. I think if I have, there we go. I got it.
Okay.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay, yay. Okay.
By the way, your branding is great.
Oh, thank you. That was really fun. That, you know what's funny? A lot of that actually came from my husband.
Dang.
Yeah, he's got an eye for that stuff. Okay. So here we are, fertile. Okay, so our beef liver, I just threw in a little photo here. So our beef liver, just to go, I'll put you on this next screen, but just to give a little bit of a background on why this all came about, of like why we started testing. First of all, was the whole, if we're going to be a company that puts, our name is Fertile, right? So a lot of women, I think, are very similar to myself as far as our customer base, who are not looking to take a traditional prenatal, and they want to know that they're getting enough of nutrients. They're not doing some wild thing where they're, trying to harm their babies in any way or anything like that, but they want a different solution. So my thing has always been like, okay, well, what's in these beef liver capsules? Like no one has testing. So that to me was super important. And then the other thing that had happened that like really pushed us forward of proceeding with this was, with the tariffs, our beef liver, like the cost of it went up significantly. And we're like, oh shoot, we can't have this like just be dumped on our consumer of raising the cost this much. So what we ended up doing was the owner of our manufacturer, she was like, I heard of a really great source from here in the US who meets all of your standards as far as like 100% grass-fed finish, pasture raised, it's freeze dried, all the things that we're currently utilizing. But the other additional thing about it is that it's USDA organic. So technically it's even quote higher quality. I'm like, okay, great. That sounds really awesome on paper, but we've had such incredible testimonies. The thing that I would hate is if someone, we were to switch suppliers and people being like, oh no, this is not the same quality, so I'm like, we need to nutrient test both of them. So that's how we kind of got into all this. You can kind of see here, like what sets our beef liver apart. I think, I mean, of course, there's like the undefatted thing. That's really essential because like, why would you want to
I didn't even
defat?
realize that till you started talking about that. Like,
Which one, the undefatted?
yeah, I was like, oh, that makes sense. Like,
Yeah, there is actually it's kind of shocking how many companies, and it must be for like cost wise maybe, but
yeah,
there's quite a few companies who do defat their beef liver, and I'm like, why would you want to do that? Because in my eyes, one of the most essential things that you can get from beef liver is the vitamin A content.
what's
Um, and then of course, like there's just like your basic, the freeze dried to me is really important as well. Like I know desiccation is really popular these days
that?
because you can do it in such a faster, cheaper way of processing the raw material. Whereas freeze drying takes longer, but it's so worth it in terms of not heating and killing off the nutrients that again you're obviously looking to get. So I think
Mhm.
there's definitely a point to where yes, all beef liver is not created equal, but this to me was the most shocking. So you can see here on the left hand side of like our fertile New Zealand, and you can see like the nutrient breakdown. Mind you, we do this now with every single batch. So once I saw these testing results, I'm like, okay, there's a missing thing in the market here where people need to know if we're using our products as these DIYs of whether it's you're on a certain protocol, whether it is you are looking to get pregnant, whether you are pregnant and you do not want to take a prenatal and you're looking to essentially DIY these products together, you need to know what's actually in them because
Yeah,
clearly they're not created equal. So this is ours on the left-hand side of like our first testing that we did. And then this was hopefully it's big enough for everyone to
yeah.
see of the USDA organic on the right-hand side. There is quite literally the only element that is actually like in a significant amount is copper. And that's like a really big issue. Like there's no vitamin A, there's no B vitamins, there's literally just copper, and that is it, which is shocking. Like to me, these numbers were like, oh my gosh. First of all, no wonder why people are like, I've tried different beef liver on the market and I've never experienced, results or like energy like I see in
Mhm.
yours. And that's very evident even when it comes to the testing. So yeah, that's a little bit of a spiel on, I think, just the importance, especially when you're selling a whole food product, that you have actual testing to show what nutrients are inside because it's not synthetic. It's not something where, you're putting in X amount of milligrams per dose, and that's obviously displayed on the back end. I think it's really important if we're consuming whole food supplements that we equally know what is in those products as a
Right.
synthetic.
Somebody
So,
mentioned over here, this makes me wonder about the soil quality. Um,
yeah.
so I know you probably thought about that, but do you have any reflections you want to share?
Oh, I have tons of reflections. No, so this is something actually that my friend Nisi and I, she has done a lot of work in this realm of HTMAs. And for those of you, her Nisi Nelson is her name, or I am Alter on Instagram. So
Oh, she's great.
she's great. I love Nisi. We're like good friends. We always text about our girls and stuff like that. But she's like brilliant in terms of mineral balancing and like
Okay.
seeing what's going on the other end because she takes so many clients, so all that to say is the copper piece is really important in terms of I think we are only going to continue to see higher and higher and higher copper levels in our soil in
Mm,
less of all sorts of nutrients. And that's very concerning, especially as women, because copper, it does affect um, our estrogen. It can really work as a xenoestrogen. And no, that's not to say that copper, should be avoided or anything like that. But it's really important to know like what's the whole story here, like
yeah.
what is someone's intake looking like and what does their other food look like it's kind of scary to, and this is what I was talking about even referencing in the beginning of not knowing within the next 50 to 100 years. It's really scary to think of the way that we even farm here in the US, as far as just being either monocrops, right, or even just using one animal. Like I'm not sure if you know much about like permaculture, but not utilizing many animals and just using one animal is still going to wreck the soil. And
Right.
I think there's something to be said there that the farming is quite literally the foundation of every single person's health, and it's really scary if we don't do something about it. And
Right.
sadly, I don't really know there's some small farms definitely who are working on that, which is incredible to see. But like to see like this mass, like we almost need to see like this mass movement of people requesting that farming looks different. So
well, absolutely. And I shared a post the other day on my personal Instagram about farming is the last kind of barrier between us and governmental control.
100%.
I was like,
It's
oh
scary.
God.
It is. And what's funny is that, like, for instance, a little bit of tangent, but I actually have like a really good family friend who owns a farm here in like Central California. And that's like kind of unheard of, right? It's like, okay, well, in Central Cal, like so expensive. But long story short, he's like third or fourth generation and he's taking over. He's just a couple years older than I am. He's like 32. But the fact of like, if he were not to make that decision of I'm going to take over, like we're getting less and less farms because it's no longer feasible to get into the industry on a mass scale. It's just not. Like the land price, the animal price, it's not feasible unless you were to have investors. But who's gathering investors for a farm these days? No one. So
it literally has to be a passion project or a family project. Like
So it's definitely scary to think of like, please, like these children need to stay in the family farm business, because otherwise that's to me one of the scariest things of having no control anymore over our food. Yeah.
Woo. Okay, first of all, thank you for putting that side by side together. I loved it. And it makes sense, like you're talking about literally all the ingredients inside of the supplement. Like some people might be thinking like, oh, the ingredient is beef liver, but it's the whole process of it. Like, and I want people to think about that with everything, the food that comes to their table, the water they drink,
That's always what I've tried to explain with FRTIL is like, I want FRTIL to be, it's not just a supplement company. Like I want it to be an initiation for women, because women at the end of the day, first of all, we are a men and woman like supplement line, right? That's first and foremost. But at the end of the day, women are really they're the holders of their home. They're the holders of, typically they choose what their children are eating, what they're drinking, what products they're bringing into their house, whether that be like body products or skincare or supplements. They are the holders. And so I think that that's why it's most important for us to be like speaking to women, because at the end of the day, I want FRTIL to be initiation or like a trickle effect into looking so much deeper into different products and into what they're essentially bringing to their home and the environment that they're creating for not only themselves as mothers, but their children as well.
That's beautiful. Okay, so I know we're going to run out of time soon and I could go on, but I want to hit on vitamin C and the oyster zinc. So you mentioned some benefits for each of them, but can you
go into
on each of them?
Yes.
I know before I went down the preconception rabbit hole, like you might not have vitamin C. I'm just going to take it for immune support, that's all people know.
Okay, so what's funny? I think vitamin C and oyster zinc, especially oyster zinc, are probably the most passionate I am behind products because of those reasons, because those two are really only paired with like immune health. Like people are like, oh, I'm sick, like I need to be taking vitamin C and zinc. Especially nowadays in our modern world, women need more zinc. I think that is just the reality of so many different things, whether it's birth control, leading to very high copper, high estrogen, whether it's, of course, like our environment of high copper in general, as far as the soils, like we just kind of saw, our copper pipes, but also to vegetarian vegan diets. These have become increasingly popular. Luckily, I think it's the like trend is fading a tiny bit.
Hopefully, geez.
Hopefully. But they're becoming increasingly popular. And the reality is that these vegetarian and vegan foods are all significantly high in copper. And then you're seeing these women, thus with endometriosis and different high estrogenic states, that they're really struggling with it. And a lot of the times it comes down to, I mean, there's so many different confounding variables, but one really big pillar is the copper intake in our food. So that's my reasoning for adding zinc to our oyster, was because, and I don't want to get too far into this as well, we took 6 months to test oyster samples from over 7 countries all over the world.
Sheesh.
And the reason being was we want to find what was highest in zinc and other trace minerals, but lowest in heavy metals. Because obviously the heavy metals piece is a really big piece when it comes to oyster consumption. So all that to say, after testing like 7, 8 samples, the highest we could find per dose, like per dosage of like 3 capsules that someone would be taking, was like, I think it was like 1.7 milligrams of copper, or excuse me, zinc, something around there. So I'm like, that's not enough to move the needle. And that's why we went ahead and added in our zinc glycinate to make it 10 milligrams per serving. So every batch is essentially like tested for zinc intake prior to manufacturing. And then we go ahead and add in zinc glycinate to fit that 10 milligrams. So all that to say, when it comes to zinc in general, so essential for hormone balance. I've never received so many emails of being like, I thought I was ovulating until I took this product, and like my symptoms of ovulation, like now I can tell that I'm really ovulating.
Now I know.
And then same with men's testosterone. So that's like a really big one as well. People are like, this, if anyone wants to have like sex drive through the roof, it's taking this product. Like my libido is through the roof. Testosterone as well. Like zinc is an essential building block for testosterone.
Cool.
So I would say hormones in general for both men and women, super essential for our oyster zinc. You also have things like stomach acid production, like how we digest our food is so essential. And zinc is really essential for enough stomach acid production. It's like the foundation of that. I'm trying to think. Oh, also stress. Stress is a really big one. Stress depletes our zinc like none other, which thus raises copper because they're antagonistic with one another. So if you're someone who's constantly under a lot of stress, I would highly recommend this product. This is literally why I actually created this product, was after like a very stressful event in my life. I did an HTMA on myself, and my copper was like, I could just tell that my body was like really sequestering and holding on to copper, and thus like taking zinc was helpful in the long run. So yeah, I would say like those 3 things are really helpful in terms of oyster zinc. And then vitamin C. Yeah, I mean, vitamin C, there's so much in terms of hormones, like especially women's progesterone. There's been lots of studies on women's progesterone production and vitamin C, oxidative stress in general. So when it comes to, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, it's amazing how women will be put on a progesterone, like a hormone, a bioidentical hormone, before even just taking vitamin C.
Yeah, before covering the basics, right? Yeah. So I think like when it comes to vitamin C, again, hormones for both men and women, and there's like studies on vitamin C intake and supporting like sperm production in men. And then there's obviously the oxidative stress. So heavy metals is a really big one that can hurt inside, like on the cellular level. And vitamin C can be really essential for like buffering that oxidative stress. Trying to think what other things. I mean, there's so many different things. Even when you talk about,
those are huge right there.
Yeah. Okay. I could really get into it, but I'm really passionate about those. Like even pairing those 2 products for people who are under a lot of stress and know that their body is experiencing a lot, I think can be really, really helpful.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I mean, just launch it, like hearing, I want to say the intentionality that you've done on the, like with your work and
Thank you.
testing and everything, and then launching 3, now 4 products. That's a lot. And you've had 2 babies. Oh my God. Okay. So my next question was, what is next on tap? But you said you're working on 1 product.
Yes. So we have 2026. I am hoping that will be a big year as far as like actually starting to see like the fruit of our labor of coming out with new products. So we have a new product coming out in February of next year.
That's soon.
Yeah, that's soon. And then we also have the one that we've been working on for like the last year and a half, which is going to be what I'm most excited about by far. I'm hoping, we don't have like a date yet, but my goal is 2026. And then we'll of course like be continuing to work in like the men's health space, because there's so much to do there. Even in like the, again, ebbing and flowing and mixing the world of nature, it does it right, but also to understanding that like there are some missing links here that we could potentially pair the two. That's what I want to do with the men's
Yeah,
product
we've
next year.
messed with nature.
Yes.
With nature,
Yeah,
and
we need to get back to that. Yeah. So that's so definitely men's product in 2026, probably another woman's product in 2026. And of course, like constantly working towards that prenatal, because that is like I'm
wow.
really excited about creating a product. Again, it's not going to be your average prenatal where it's like boom, 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 every single vitamin and mineral is in there, you know, like that's just not our customer base. And that's not what I'm personally aligned with, but definitely working on creating something where it's like much more of a catch-all than like beef liver is not a prenatal, you know. And we've had like some people have come at us being like, this is not a prenatal. It's like, yeah, it's not our prenatal. Like,
we don't market it as one.
Yeah, we don't market it as our prenatal. But yeah, really coming together is more of a catch-all than what we currently have.
Cool. Okay.
So yeah.
Oh,
I'm excited.
I love it. Okay, did I miss anything? I know I could talk to you for hours, but I want to wrap up.
Feel like, yeah, I feel like that's like the bulk of it. That's the bulk of who we are, what we've been doing, and yeah.
Where can people find you? What's your website, social media, any
so
other social thing?
Our Instagram, I know so many people are like, "Are you gonna get on TikTok?" I don't know. I suck at social media. I'm like, no. You too? Yeah. I'm like, no,
not on
thank you.
TikTok.
So
But I'm also like 10 years older than you, so
no. I'm like very anti, like I don't have Instagram on my phone. I only have it on like a work phone. Like I try to stay away from social media as much as possible. But so Instagram is BFRTIL, BE, and then FRTIL. And then our website is fertile.co. So FRTIL.co.
awesome.
And then if you email us,
go there to buy your products.
Thank you. Yes, we would love that. But even if you have any questions, like feel free to reach out. Like I said, I answer all of those emails. So if you have any like further questions, that's what I'm here for, is to like answer those. And I love the discussion that goes on, especially with like practitioner minds of like having different questions about things. So yeah.
Cool. Well, it's so great chatting with you.
Yeah,
You're
so nice talking with you. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you and the work you do and all that you've contributed in this world.
Thank you. Oh,
like I said, I'm 10 years older, probably at least. And people like you that are motivated and passionate about the future give me hope. So,
well, thank you. That means a lot. We need to get into farming is what we need to do.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's my number one goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much for
much.
donating your time with us and sharing your wisdom.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Bye, guys.
All right. Bye, y'all.
Bye.